Is It podcast. My name is Devin. I'm here joined with Brad, and today we have somebody very special in the studio. That's right, give it up for Saraphina, the violinist. How we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm here with DJ Elyx and Vanessa Viola.
How you guys doing today? How's everybody?
Great, amazing.
Great, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sticking with me. I'm not even gonna pretend that we didn't do that. Yeah, we messed up. This is our third time, but you know what they say, third time's a charm. Oh, fourth time, probably.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay.
Oh man, but thank you ladies for coming in and sitting down with us.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. But are you all based out of Toronto?
We are. All of us live in Toronto right now.
Nice.
Yeah, but I'm the only one actually from Toronto.
Well, I'm from Iran, but yeah, I moved to Canada 10 years ago.
Nice.
I'm from everywhere, you name it. I lived in Boston.
Oh, you
Really?
live in Boston?
For how long?
3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Damn, shout out to Beantown.
Yeah,
But,
Boston's so close to here, right?
hour,
It's like 2
hour.
hours.
I mean,
It's not 2 hours.
It's
With
closer than
traffic.
Toronto.
Why would you do it with traffic?
Everybody always factors in
Yeah,
traffic.
Massachusetts people are weird. Oh wait, this is a Massachusetts podcast. Hey, I didn't mean when I said that. I didn't mean that. But well, actually, if we could
Throwing
just
shade.
just shade on the home team and stuff like that. But if we could just get a quick backstory from all of you, where you're from, what it was like growing up for you out there, and how'd you all come together?
All right. Well, I grew up close to Toronto, Brantford, so not too far away. I've been playing violin since I was 3 years old. I piano since I was 5, so it's been a while. I grew up in a town that had lots of string influence, so it was just an after-school program. I was always doing it, always going to private lessons. Every week I would have a group class with a whole bunch of other violinists. And then I joined this orchestra. My mom was my stand partner. She started playing violin with me. So I was very embarrassed, but apparently it was very cute. So I was 6 years old. I was the youngest violinist in the orchestra, and my mom and I were stand partners. And I just took it from there and decided to go to school for violin. I was always doing classical violin. And then when I started university, I met this drummer. And the drummer was like, oh, hey, you should play in this nightclub with me. And I was like, okay, why not? So I started playing with house music, and then obviously the acoustic violin, it wasn't loud enough, so I started playing electric violin, and then I started, writing my own songs, and here we are today.
Nice. Wow. Yeah, Alex.
Yes,
Alex. I'm sorry, we was messing it up for a group. Luckily, this is in take 5. But what was it like for yourself? You're from Iran, and you moved here about 10 years ago. What was it like for you growing up out there?
Well, in Iran, it was okay, but obviously I like Canada much better. But, well, I started DJing 7 years ago, and I started watching YouTube videos first.
Who were you watching on YouTube?
Well, different
really?
stuff.
Everything.
Yeah, 101s first.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
Gotta
and
start with the
then I
basics.
got some online courses. I mostly play Persian music and tech house, but well, now we're here playing some other kind of music, which is fine and it's cool. I love it. And well, yeah, that's it, I guess.
That's awesome.
And Vanessa, you're from everywhere.
Well, okay, so I'll just
Where did we
started
begin?
viola in Texas, and I
Okay.
started on viola, which is really unique.
What is the
Yeah,
viola?
what's
So
viola?
Oh, I know there's
No,
stages too.
yeah.
There's different. Can you explain that part actually?
Okay,
Because-
sure.
Yeah.
So viola's bigger,
Yeah.
but it's held the same way as the violin, so it looks very similar. 3 of the strings are the same, but violin has a high string where we have a low string. And it's actually the same strings as a cello, but an octave higher. And it's really just meant for blending, making everything harmony. We play a lot of harmony, and yeah, it's a really beautiful instrument, but it's not very common. Nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
I can name some famous violists. I guarantee you haven't heard of them.
This will probably be a little bit out of my depth, but the way you're describing it, it seems like the viola is almost like the bass guitar of the violin, or what is that family called? It's not the violin
The
family.
family.
But
Yeah, it could be the bass guitar.
String family,
yeah.
string family. It kind of plays that role. It's kind of like a bass guitarist, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. After, what was it like for you growing out in Texas, or what part of Texas? 'Cause
Well, I
Texas
was in
is
Lubbock,
huge. Oh, Lubbock.
and I started in my school as well.
Wow.
It was a string program, and yeah.
That's pretty awesome. How old were you when you started doing
I was
it?
12. It was a 6th grade program. So.
Shout out the 6th grade program.
For real.
And then I got into the electric because I was going to the Boston Conservatory. And
Okay.
when I was there, you can take electives at Berkeley. And so I was like, well, that's awesome. So I went and took some like rhythm and blues improvisation and like just like classes that you can do there. And then I met Sarah in Toronto, and it was like, I mean, I'm already trained for this. This is great. So
let's get into that story about how you all just came together to create this group. What was the
Sure.
backstory with that one?
well, why don't you?
Alex and I met at a Persian gig, playing, I think it was a Persian wedding or like a Persian party. And I was like, oh, cool, like a female DJ. Like, I always want to use, no offense, but I always want to use girls in my bands, right?
Okay.
I always want to travel with girls. It's just, you know, like if we have to share a room or something, it's all cool, you know. So, yeah, and we always tend to get along really well. So Alex and I met that way, and Vanessa and I met at this.
It's a church gig.
Yeah, it was a church gig. It was a very
Oh, it was?
unique, strange church experience. But we met there, and I was like, oh, that girl's pretty. Like, she could be part of my quartet. At the time, I was doing an electric string quartet, and I needed, like, a violist, because I already have, like, there's so many violinists, but there's not that many violists. So we need, like, 2 violins, viola, cello. And so I was like, oh, Vanessa's pretty. Like, I think she'll work. Like, so we'll just get her an electric viola. She's going to be fine. And she, like, eventually, it took a little bit of convincing, but eventually Vanessa, like, caved, and she was like, okay, fine, I'll help you guys out. So, yeah, here we are today.
Vanessa, what was the apprehension for you? Because I know you come from that classical background. Like,
Yeah, well, I think it was a lot about the makeup and the clothes and just like being judged by those classical people. They don't always understand. What we're trying to do is like bring our instruments to a crowd that maybe doesn't always see violin, because it's not a standard instrument in a band. So, but we want to bring them music that like everybody knows. Like Sarah always says, like people want to hear songs that they know. So that's why we play covers as well as our own.
Especially on the internet, violin has been blowing up, especially doing remakes and like all that other stuff. So being in this category that you guys are, what does that do for your overall persona of the instrument that you guys play?
I would say, like, people are not used to seeing violin, right?
Yeah.
Most people, when I play for them, like, no matter where it is, they're like, oh, I've never seen violin played live before. And I was like, really? Like, it seems,
so normal.
you know, it seems so normal for me. I'm like, oh, like, everyone's seen it, right? But sometimes I play places, like, I might, like, play, like, a store opening, or I might, like, be performing at some party, and, like, people are, like, in shock, right? They've never seen anything like it before. And then especially I'm playing electric violin, and they're like, oh, that's so cool, right? It's kind of like electric guitar, like you can do the same effects, that type of thing. I play with DJs, right? Well, Elyx, right? But like, obviously, but like, you know, if I'm playing like with house music or something, they're like, that's so sick. Like I play at clubs, you know, it's like a whole different thing. But like Vanessa was saying, the classical players are not so interested in what we're doing here. They're kind of like, oh, you guys are kind of like the outcasts, because we're, you know, we're doing electric, we're playing like hip hop, we're playing like pop music. We're not always doing, you know, tonight I'm gonna perform at the circus, but I'll be doing like Vivaldi. But for the most part, on stage, we're not doing classical music. Yeah.
Now, is this an up and coming like genre, I guess you could say, within mainstream music at all?
I would say hopefully, yeah, but you know, there are other like prominent electric violinists, right, that we can name. I guess Lindsay Sterling would be the top. I wouldn't really compare myself to Lindsay Sterling. She's like a little bit different, but at the same time, there are like, you know, David Garrett does a lot of, he doesn't play necessarily electric, but he does the same sort of stuff. He does like covers, and he'll play like in front of an orchestra or something. But it's the same kind of idea, right? It's like, yeah, I think it's up and coming for sure, and people are really into it. And you know, sometimes we like sing on stage as well. It's not just just violin. Like we all play piano as well, so we can
Oh, that's kind of dope. That's real cool.
Yeah.
What kind of demographic does your shows usually bring in? Because like you were just saying, it's not something too many people see. So who are the people that are interested in seeing this kind of performances?
I would say like it depends on, well, we try to judge the crowd, right? But here we didn't know really what we were coming into. So I just said, let's do like all the new stuff. Like we did like Ariana Grande. So I would say like our demographic is usually like our age, right? Like young people. But if we're playing for, you know, the older generation, we'll do like more stuff like Journey. Like we did a couple of things like Journey, Coldplay, you know, that type of thing that like the older generation likes.
Oh, it's crap. Well, fast forward, like you were just saying, you didn't really know what you were getting when you got here. What has your experience been at the Big E? What was it like for you, if you had to describe it?
I think we had an amazing time. Like we were not sure what to expect at all. Unfortunately, we didn't like have any country songs in our set, but like people kept asking us for country music or classical, and I'm like, classical you have to wait for the circus because I'm doing the classical there, but no country music except for, if you count like the Keith Urban Lil Nas song that we do at the end. That's like the only country song that we have. But you know, looking back, right, we should have added some country stuff in. But you know, we've had a great time. Everyone's so friendly. Everyone comes up to us after the show. They love it. Like especially, you know, it feels so good to have like, you know, like little girls come up to us and have their mothers or fathers be like, oh, you guys are like such great role models. You know, often in bands you see like a lot of guys, and we're promoting like, you know, girl power, kind of like you can be anything you want to be type thing.
That's real awesome.
Yeah.
That's real cool. Real quick before we let you guys get out of here, we only got 2 more questions for you. But I do want to say thank you for sitting down with us. Thanks for taking time out of you guys.
Having us.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem. Where can everybody find each one of you on social media?
Okay, so Instagram, it's at Saraphina Violin, Saraphina Violin. And you could just put saraphinaviolin.com, and you can go to either my Facebook, my Instagram. There's some videos on YouTube as well.
Well, my Instagram is DJ Elyx, Elyx. So yeah, easy to find. Yeah.
My Instagram is Vanessa Viola, but okay, so VANESSAH VIOLA.
All right. Solid.
All right, nice. Again, thank you, ladies, for coming through. And the last question, I actually want to get an answer from each one of you.
Okay.
What is your definition of success?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I love how all of them were like, oh.
Mine is just happiness. For me, it's not about the money. I already feel like I am successful as long as I'm like happy doing what I love. And I haven't worked a day in my life, because when I was in, I think I was, grade 8. So I'd been playing for 2 years, and I told my mom, this is what I'm doing. I've tried to quit several times, but I am an addict for this. I cannot quit. So I've already made it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Well, as a Iranian woman, well, I'm the first Canadian female Persian, you know, thing in Canada. So we never had that kind of like in Persian girls. So I think I made it. Well, I need to go higher and higher, of course, but I'm happy for now, just for now. So I see myself as a successful female
awesome.
DJ. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I feel like this is a very tough question, right?
I know, sorry, it's kind of loaded. Sorry, guys.
But, you know, success can be measured in so many different ways, and I feel like everyone has, like, a different end goal, right? You know, I've performed in a lot of continents already, but I want to just continue doing more of that and, like, have, you know, create more songs, like, more content. You know, I have a bunch of music videos already, but I just feel like you can always do more and like keep creating. I think that's super important. And, you know, obviously being happy and loved, like feeling loved is like the most important thing as well. You know, just like being content with who you are, and like that is being successful, I think.
I love it.
Nice.
I love it.
Yo, thank you, ladies. Thank you again for coming through and sitting down with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for bearing with us through all those takes. Everyone, thank you for watching this episode of This Is It podcast. Big thank you to our sponsors, J Cells Vintage. Make sure for all your vintage wear needs, head over on Instagram and hit up our guy Justin over at J Cells Vintage. Big thank you to the folks over at Mellowship Entertainment, and of course the Big E. So again, as always, everyone, I'm Brad.
I'm Devin.
This is Saraphina Violin, and this is it.